Let's go to another article, which is of some controversy. It'll be in the New York Times tomorrow, so the only way you could see it today is in the digital version, and that's Nick Kristoff's article about the prison rapes in Israeli prisons, which is very difficult to read, but which evoked a firestorm from the Israeli foreign ministry. Kristoff, who almost apologizes for writing this thing, feels intellectually bound to do so. Interviewed everybody: prison guards, interrogators, senior people, prisoners, Israeli prisoners, Palestinian prisoners. The picture he paints is so reprehensible, so clear, so consistent, so profound that Israeli leadership must know what's going on, of horrific tortures of Palestinians. And every one of these tortures involves the forcible entry into someone's body, male or female.
Including the use of dogs, especially trained to do so.
Yes.
I will say, for me, it's quite personal. Behind me, that photo there, I'm with Issa Amro, who was interviewed in this story. And Issa was raped along with his colleagues. They are in Hebron. They oppose the occupation. Issa has been a major problem for the occupation for years. That photo, Ray McGovern is in that photo as well, is from Hebron in 2017. We're being fired at by tear gas canisters. The Israeli border police actually fire him level. One hit Ray right in the arm. If you could see the photo, you could see Ray's walking away holding his arm because he'd been shot in the arm with a tear gas canister.
They don't shoot tear gas canisters up in the air the way they do in the U.S.?
Some do, but a lot of them fire them level. And if that tear gas canister had been over 8 inches and up 8 inches, it would have hit Ray right in the face. Ray was, I think, 80 years old at that time when he was there with us in the West Bank. But when I saw Issa again, and in that photo, I'm locked arms with Issa as we approach that line of border police who are firing at us. When I was there in 2024 in the West Bank in Palestine, and I saw Issa in Hebron, Issa told me then that he had been raped. He told me what they had done to him, what they do to them. And it wasn't just Issa. It was, like I said, his colleagues, his compatriots have been raped as well. The documentation of this is clear. This existed before October 7th. I think that's one thing I'm upset with Kristoff about, is Kristoff did not make that clear in his column, that this is not you could read it almost as that this is a consequence, or this was a result, or this is a retaliation for October 7th. It's not. The systematic torture, including rape and sexual assault on Palestinian prisoners, has been, Palestinian hostages is more better term, has been evident. It's been clear. It's been documented for decades, including on children. One of the things that's buried in that story is the report from Save the Children that documents 69% of Palestinian children who are detained, who are arrested, who are held hostage by the Israelis. The Israelis just come in the middle of the night and they take these children from their homes. Both times I was in Palestine, Judge, both times I was in the West Bank in 2017 and 2024. When I spoke with Palestinians, the things that they were most afraid of, the things that they're most fearful of, was what the Israelis would do to their children. And the Israelis will go into villages. They will go into towns. They don't do it often because they don't have to do it often. But once, twice, 3 times a year, they will come into a village and they will raid homes. And they will take children away, and they hold those children for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and they will be tortured. They will be abused. They'll be humiliated. They'll be threatened. They'll be forced to sign confessions in Hebrew that they cannot read because they're afraid their parents will be tortured or killed. That's what the Israelis threaten them with. And as we know from the Save the Children report on this, 2/3 of Palestinian children who are held hostage by the Israelis are either themselves raped or sexually assaulted, or they witness such rape and sexual assault. I mean, this is just the staggering levels of this. In the documentation that's been there, it has been there, the evidence, but what it's done to this people, the way that the Israelis try and shatter these people, is what any oppressor has done, any occupier has done. The converse of it is that it creates a reality in which the Palestinians refuse to bend the knee. And, as much as the Palestinians have been preyed upon, the crimes committed against them, the apartheid state under which they live, the humiliation that they endure every single day, and of course, the immiseration, the murder, the starvation, the Palestinians still will not bend a knee. And, I think that is something, too, that you don't get from Christoph's story, this idea that no matter what the Israelis do, they cannot break the will, the spirit, the defiance of the Palestinian people. But I'm glad that Christoph did write this, that the New York Times published it. I'm afraid that they're going to pull it, that they're going to retract it because they're under such pressure. But this is the reality of the Israeli occupation. This is the Israeli state. The idea that somehow the Israeli state doesn't endorse this. Well, if you've had this documentation, if there has been decades and decades of such evidence, if no Israeli soldier or prison guard or settler has ever been arrested, let alone tried for these types of things. And if it does occur, as we saw last year when Israeli prison guards were caught on video raping a Palestinian hostage, and then when these soldiers were taken to trial, the country erupted. Parliamentarians stormed the prison. And you have on video debate in the Knesset where parliamentarians Knesset members are saying to one another, of course we're allowed to rape them. They're Nukba. They are terrorists. They are nothing, essentially. I mean, the idea that the state doesn't endorse this isn't a state policy is absolutely insane. Of course it's a state policy. If there's blanket immunity for doing these types of things, if no one is ever hurt and it's publicly known that no one is ever prosecuted or charged or punished for this, then of course it's state policy. The state lets them do it. And as well as then, of course, the things you hear from not just the right wing, not just the Bezalel Smotriches and Itamar Ben-Gvirs who endorse these things. Ben-Gvir, who walks around with a noose lapel on his coat these days, but also, too, the commentary you hear from across the Israeli spectrum, the dehumanization of the Palestinians, the fact that the Palestinians are nothing but animals, that they deserve such treatment. It should be no shock, no surprise to anyone that this is systemic and it's deliberate and it's purposeful.
Does the public understand and accept this, or is the Christoph article news to them?
No, I'm
the Israeli public.
I think the details may be news to them because, by and large, the Israeli press, particularly Israeli Hebrew press, will not speak of such things other than to endorse the punishment of of Palestinian prisoners, of Palestinian detainees or hostages. So other than the overall glow that's put on this by the Israeli media in terms of how this is necessary, how this is keeping Israelis safe, or how this is the deserved punishment for the Palestinians, I think most Israelis are unaware of the actual details. Now, English-speaking publications, Haaretz or Plus 972, will publish such things, but not a lot of Israelis read those, Judge. Not a lot of Israelis pay attention to the Israeli media that publishes in English and is often very critical of the Israeli government and the occupation. When I was in Palestine in 2024 and we drove past Ofer prison, which is the major prison in the central part of the West Bank. It's right there off of the road. You can't miss it. Massive walls. And inside, as we drove by, I knew there were thousands of Palestinians who were being held there, many of them essentially hostages, and many of them being tortured. As I drove by, how many tens or how many hundreds of Palestinians were being tortured at that moment? I can only imagine. But on the side of that prison, this is a major road, and this is an Israeli-only road, a yellow plate, license plate road. It's an apartheid system. So Israelis drive on one road, Palestinians drive on the other. If you're a foreigner, if you're some guy from New Jersey, you get to drive on the Israeli road because you're better than the people who actually are indigenous to there under the Israeli apartheid system. That's how it works. You and I go there, Judge, Napolitano and Ho. We can, we got to walk around acting like we own the place. I'll tell you one story when we were in Hebron, just to elucidate this apartheid. We go to Hebron. I'm with this group. It's a Christian group called Sabeel. Fantastic organization. People should support it. So people should go to Palestine with Sabeel. But we're in Hebron. We have our Palestinian friend with us, Omar. We're near the Ibrahimi Mosque, the big, great mosque there, in Hebron. And there's a public bathroom. And so those of us who are from the United States, from Canada, from the UK, we're allowed to use the public bathroom. But my Palestinian friend Omar, he's not allowed to use the public bathroom. I mean, that's apartheid right there. But as we're get back to Ofer prison, as we're driving by Ofer prison, just to answer your question, Judge, about the Israeli public's involvement in this, huge banner on the side of Ofer prison that says in Hebrew, "Together we will win," right? I mean, so the communication from the Israeli government, communication from that torture site, Ofer prison, right, to the thousands of Israelis that drive by that prison every day is that we're in this together. The way we win is through imprisoning and torturing these people. I mean, that's the message you take from something like that. So your question, I don't know if they know the details. I don't think they understand the picture in color, but they certainly understand it in black and white. And they're supportive of it. Yeah.
Last question. Does Netanyahu know that he lost this war? Is he getting desperate?
I think he's getting desperate, Judge, because I think he's upset with the foot dragging from the Americans. But also, too, he realizes that the most political pressure he's had on him, aside from the fact that he's corrupt and should be in jail, right? Aside from that, the most political pressure we've seen exerted on Netanyahu from his opponents have come from this ceasefire with Iran, and even more so the ceasefire, put those in quotes, because as the United Nations said, in the last 3 days, the Israelis carried out 1,300 airstrikes in Lebanon, killed dozens and dozens and dozens of people. But the pressure that Netanyahu is feeling politically right now comes from his opposition, who are decrying him, who are criticizing him for this, again, quote, ceasefire, unquote, in Lebanon, particularly. So this war, which was very popular and is still very popular in Israel, was meant to ensure Netanyahu's success in this year's elections. The elections have to occur by October. I recall reading the idea was they'd move the elections up to June. And this way the war would happen, the war would be won, and Netanyahu would sweep the elections. And now he's got this political opposition, again, not just based upon his corruption, not just based on his criminality, but based upon the fact that he is seen as in league with ceasefires with Iran and Lebanon. I mean, so that's the pressure he seems to be under. Plus, also, too, Netanyahu really wants to conquer Lebanon. He really wants to complete the conquest of southern Syria. He wants to destroy Iran, and then he wants to be able to wrap it all up so that they can annex the West Bank and finish off Gaza. So he really does believe in this project. He really does believe in this war. So he wants to see victory in his terms, but he also has this very real domestic political pressure on him because the war, it's not a question that the war didn't go well. It's a question that the war is not continuing. And that's the seems what this Israeli public wants.